All right. Creating and delivering a presentation. So this is Microsoft PowerPoint. We haven't talked about PowerPoint yet, at least not much. And so the learning objective for this presentation is to apply a document theme to a presentation, insert new slides, add text to a slide, view a slideshow, and present a slideshow. So the basics of PowerPoint. Excuse me. Microsoft PowerPoint has some unique visual appearance, but underneath the appearance of how it works, it's not that dissimilar to Google Slides or OpenOffice Impress or some of the other competitors that are out there, but they are more different than some of the other types of applications like Word or Excel, where they tend to be more standardized on what they're doing and how they're doing it. With PowerPoint being extremely creative, there are some very unique ways that different companies and their products try to deliver a creative presentation through animations and visual details. How they do these tasks can be very different from one program to the other, but the basics aren't that different. Now, there are some other presentation programs that can be extremely unique, and some of them have come and gone over the years, and some are still available on the web doing extremely complicated animation or visually zooming in and out and creating an effect that can be extremely useful and engaging for the audience, but also potentially distracting. So, excuse me. I would suggest that you keep an open mind about what programs you might have access to and what are the best choices for making a presentation. Because sometimes a presentation, you just have to get a quick message across and you shouldn't waste too much time thinking about the tool. Other times, you might be trying to create a marketing opportunity. And depending on the intent, the audience, the goal of a presentation, you might really want to think hard about the details. Every color, every animation, every word you use, you think carefully, because with marketing, you are creating not just an opportunity to inform, but you are creating an opportunity to change somebody's perceptions, somebody's emotions, whether they realize it or not. And you want them to be impacted by your presentation. So those are some thoughts about presentation, but this is going to be just the basics. So this, again, is an older program, but the details, none of the details are any different in the current version of PowerPoint. So especially since who knows what you're using at home. The basics are always the same. Exactly where you go for the start button and where you find the icon or tile or whatever for your starting the program doesn't really matter. And it doesn't even have to be Windows. It could be PowerPoint for the Mac. Now, there are tours or tutorials that you can go through, but you can look on the internet for all kinds of things to help you take a quick tour or tutorial. Built in to the newer versions, there are tours of the PowerPoint program, and you can either open a presentation or you can select templates. Templates are already pre-built themes, and you can change them, but at least you're not starting with blank. You can see the one that starts out highlighted with a new presentation. It's just a blank white rectangle, and you have to do everything from scratch. And if you're good with PowerPoint, if you know what you're doing, you have a vision in mind, it sometimes is better to start with a blank page and build from there, because you're not having to undo all of the things that a template has built in. And I'm a huge fan of templates because most people at least want to start in a general area. You might even have a company template, and that's something that would be really good. An intermediate task in PowerPoint would be to create your own template. And you can save your own template. And the nice thing about your own template is you can have a compatible color theme based on your company's logo and your company's color palette. And you have a consistent background with your logo across the bottom, across the top, in the corner somewhere, whatever you want. And now you've got a standard presentation template, and you can have everybody use it. We have Hartnell templates. And when we're presenting to the public, not in class, but when we're presenting to the public, we're asked in a friendly way with a little bit of nudge, nudge, please, please, always use one of the Hartnell templates for Hartnell business dealing with the public, because they're built in with our logo and our color palette and our theme, and we have a consistent image that we're trying to project, just like any business would. So you can select a template that has a general appearance that you like, or start from scratch. So here we are in the window with a blank, non-template presentation. There's the quick access toolbar. You can save, undo, etc. The ribbon, just like Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, it behaves the same way. But I will add one thing about templates. I always start with a template, almost always start with a template in most of my generic PowerPoint presentations. It's rare that I'm creating something I want to really start with a blank window, unless I'm creating my own template for a purpose, which I've done several times before. But in Word, I rarely do that. In Excel, I rarely do that. Word templates are very handy and wonderful in certain situations, but they're aggravating in others. Every time I use a Word template, I always run into some problem where I can't figure out how the heck did they do this for the template, and how do I undo it? So like a resume template, which is pre-built with 3 jobs. What if I only want 2 or I need 4? How do I add one? How do I take one out? And sometimes that's aggravating. It can be an interesting learning experience to alter a template, but I usually want to just get something done. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole of trying to figure something out. And so templates can be an aggravating distraction, even though they have wonderful and powerful things. The learning opportunity from a template can actually be good if you try to change it, but you have to want to do that. In PowerPoint, I don't have the same experience. I create a template, it has a general look, a background, and I can change an individual slide away from the template if the template doesn't work for one slide here and there. But other than that, I like it. It's not too hard to undo the things. I haven't run into the same aggravation with templates. Anyway, so there's pre-built tools where you can just click, and this helps guide the user. You just click, add a title, click, add a subtitle. And depending on the type of slide within a PowerPoint presentation blank slide, there are different types of slides that have different pre-built elements that you just click to add the content. The status bar across the bottom might look a little different from version to version. There's the fit to screen button, and they're not talking about PowerPoint itself. They're talking about the slide in the window. You can zoom in and out to make it bigger or smaller, and different views, including the one here, which maybe you can't see my cursor going up and down across this. That's the presentation view, or actually making the slide presentation and clicking through it one at a time. You can add notes and comments, which is really handy, and a lot of people don't bother, myself included often, but it's really valuable to you as the presenter, or if you're sharing that presentation, or if you're leaving a presentation for other people to use down the road, or you to remember years later, or even weeks later. You can put notes that don't display to the audience, but you can display it to help remind you. It's a way to create a presentation where the audience is seeing your slide. You're seeing a slightly smaller version of your slide in your notes. So it's not like carrying notes in your hand and you're looking down at your notes. It's right there on the screen. Or as reminders. So you don't have to use notes during presentation, but you can use notes to prepare as you are reminding yourself of all the important things to say or do, points you should make during the presentation. Just read your notes real quick in preparation to get your mind ready and go, okay, I'm going to go through this presentation for tomorrow, so I'm ready. And you read your notes as you're going through the slides. Extremely, extremely useful. I wish I would have the discipline and habit to do it more often. Because when I do have notes, I generally am really happy that I do. I always look and go, oh yeah, there's at least a note or two or three in a given PowerPoint file, presentation file, where I'm glad I've got them in there. It reminds me of them. So, saving, this is the same as any. I'm not going to go through here, but you look at the folder that you want to save it in, the file type, the file name. The file type will always default to a PowerPoint presentation. The current one would be PPTX, file extension, PPTX. But you can save it as other types of files. You can save it as a PDF file like I'm using here. This is a PowerPoint saved as a PDF. You can even save it as other types or older versions. There's a whole bunch of different save as types available. Inserting text, it's pre-formatted based on the type of text. The title is going to be bigger, larger font. The subtitle is going to be a smaller font. You don't have to use a subtitle, but this would be your title slide. So if I start a presentation, what's the first thing that I'm going to use? What's called a title slide, which looks like this. So selecting themes. Themes are based on color schemes, font styles and font sizes, and how you're going to create any bulleted or numbered lists. And so they're all predefined. And once you define the style and you assign a theme to your presentation, any new slide added will have that same theme automatically applied. And you can apply themes to existing slides, or you can apply themes from this point forward. You definitely have to make sure that you know what you're applying to. But here you can see in the pop-up window with the theme, it says apply to all slides or apply to selected slides. And you can select more than one slide, and they don't have to be contiguous. You can just control and click on each individual slide in the navigation pane, or in multiple views. You can look at slides in different ways, but you can select the ones you want the theme to apply. It generally is best if you didn't pick a template already with a pre-built theme. It's generally best to do this first. And a lot of people, they want to get their presentation out of their brain. And so they open up a PowerPoint and they start working and they create a bunch of slides, and they start getting into some of the details and they start changing fonts and they start doing things. And then they go, you know what, this is kind of bland and plain. I better go back and create a theme. You can do that, but some of the changes you made, PowerPoint has to make a decision what things are going to be adjusted to the theme and what things are not. So if you made changes to a font size, that font size might not automatically be changed back to the theme. PowerPoint might say, wait a minute, the author of this has a manual change and we're going to leave that alone. And it would be up to you to go back through and make sure that everything matches the theme that you want. You don't have to worry about that if you start with creating the theme, and then as you're building the slides or going back and fine tuning it, if some font you want to be bigger, smaller, a different font or different font color, whatever, to make it stand out for some reason, or go to the background for some reason, make it smaller, you can do that. But it's tedious, and I've had this happen where I create a PowerPoint, apply a theme, and I realize that I had made a bunch of changes and I've got to go back and undo those changes one by one to bring them back to the theme, because the theme did not apply to all slides the way I thought it would. The ribbon, it behaves exactly the same as Microsoft Word and Excel. So I'm not going to go through the details here. You can see, and you can pause here and take a look. But in the bottom corner, you can open up the dialog boxes for these different ribbon groups and do whatever you need to do. But there are different things as well, like slides. I'm going to add a new slide or modify, edit the slide. You're not going to see those kinds of things in Microsoft Word. And here in the home ribbon, the drawing tools group is right there. You're using that more commonly. That is certainly something that is more prominent because you're creating an artistic product, a PowerPoint presentation, instead of a Word document, which is more about text and text layout, less about drawing. So back up away from the program itself, and it's time to think about the presentation. So before I start talking about this, I'm going to take a short break.